The donut raffle. Today, Baker Humperdinck is organizing Busy Town's biggest donut raffle ever. Huckle brings his lucky card with him. He wants to be the winner, but he thinks that Mr. Frumble could use some extra good luck for the raffle. I think I'll lend Mr. Frumble my lucky card, Huckle tells Lowly. Good luck, Mr. Frumble. There's Frumble. Mr. Frumble looks for a safe place for Huckle's card and the raffle ticket. I'll put them in my heart. In my hat, says Mr. Frumble. I wonder if that's such a good idea. Oops! Abel Baker, Charlie trips and spills his tray of donuts on the counter. He places the donuts back on the tray. Good day, says Mr. Frumble as he leaves. I'll be back later for the raffle draw. There he is going for the raffle draw. Hello, Mr. Frumble, says Sergeant Murphy. I see you lost your hat again. Oh dear, Mr. Frumble complains. Today is not my lucky day. It's time for the raffle draw. Attention, everyone, says Humperdinck. The winning ticket is number 191. We didn't win, says Huckle disappointedly. We didn't win either, all the others say. Then you must have won, Mr. Frumble, Huckle says. You had my lucky card. Oh dear, Mr. Frumble explains. Your card and my raffle ticket were in my hat and I lost it. This is where he lost. I'm so sad I lost my hat that I need a donut to cheer me up. Could I please have that hat-shaped donut? Humperdinck, Mr. Frumble asks. Look, it's Mr. Frumble's hat with a winning ticket. Charlie should have been more careful about what he put in the oven to bake. Mr. Frumble shares his prize of donuts with everyone else. Good for you, Mr. Frumble. Such a nice way of sharing things. The next one is called the Firefighter's Ball. Mr. Frumble has decided to become a fireman. Welcome to the fire station, Chief greets him. Let's start with something easy today, Chief says to Mr. Frumble. You can help us decorate the fire station for the annual firefighters' ball. What? Replies Mr. Frumble. No fire, no rescue. While the firefighters are out buying party supplies for the ball, Mr. Frumble starts to decorate the fire station. Oops, you've made a mess there, Mr. Frumble. Mr. Frumble uses a water hose to clean up the big spot. Swoosh! Water sprays this way. Paint sprays that way. What a disaster! Total disaster. Drilling. What's the ringing noise? Mr. Frumble wonders. Oh, I know it's an alarm. A fire. Well, I better call the fire department. But I'm a volunteer firefighter, Mr. Frumble remembers. Everybody stay calm. Here I come. Mr. Frumble hops aboard a fire truck. Vroom! Out of the fire station he drives. Watch out, busy town. Crash! Splash! Mr. Frumble hits the fire hydrant just in front of the fire station. Whoosh! The spray of water puts out the barbecue. How careless, says Mr. Frumble. An out of control barbecue fire. Ooh. But now it's time for the firefighters' ball. The first guests have already begun to arrive. Wow, Mr. Huckle explains. That's the neatest looking fire engine I've ever seen. And this is the best decorated fire station ever, Mr. Fixit adds. Even Chief has to agree. Congratulations, Mr. Frumble. You have done a wonderful job. I just love being a volunteer firefighter, Chief, says Mr. Frumble. What do I get to do tomorrow? The next chapter, Mr. Frumble gets a job. Mr. Frumble wants to be helpful. He would like to find a job. Mr. Root, the gardener, is looking for an assistant. Mr. Frumble wants to give the job a try. Glad to have you on board, Mr. Frumble, says Mr. Root. There is a lot to do. You can start by mowing the lawn, but be careful. The mower is pretty strong and it can go very fast. Mr. Frumble turns on the lawn mower. Vroom! Watch out, Mr. Frumble. Did you hear what Mr. Root said? The lawn mower tears through busy town, with Mr. Frumble holding on. Mr. Frumble cannot control it. The lawn mower drags him right into Mr. Fixit's workshop. Bam! It comes to a shop. Hello, Mr. Fixit, says Mr. Frumble. I wonder if you could fix Mr. Root's lawn mower. That's not no problem, Mr. Fixit replies. There is nothing I can't fix. Perhaps in the meantime, you could help me to sell this new gas powered vacuum cleaner I just invented. Mr. Frumble is delighted. He would love to be a salesman. Mr. Frumble rings Hilda Hippo's doorbell. Mr. Frumble is the name, and helping you with your cleaning is my game, he says to Hilda. He empties the bag of coal on the carpet. What are you doing, Mr. Frumble? Hilda exclaims. Don't worry, Hilda, Mr. Frumble says. Now just stand back and admire. Mr. Frumble starts up the vacuum cleaner. Broom, broom. Be careful, Mr. Frumble. You are only supposed to vacuum the floor. And all it is pulling him. The vacuum cleaner zooms through the streets. Look out, everyone. The vacuum cleaner is zooming, and zooming. Broom. The vacuum cleaner lands in Mr. Root's garden and sucks up a big hole on earth before coming to a stop. Thank you, Mr. Frumble, for digging the hole to plant my new tree, says Mr. Root. That's a very handy machine, he adds. I'll buy it. You did a wonderful job cleaning my house, Hilda exclaims. Thanks to you, Mr. Frumble, I could redecorate everything, and it is so beautiful now. My, isn't Mr. Frumble a good helper? Now, Bucketmen in busy town. Huckle and Lolly are at the movie theater. They are watching Bucket People from Outer Space. What an exciting film! Do you think there really is life on other planets? Lolly asks Huckle after the film. I sure hope so, Huckle replies. Then let's play Space Explorers, Lolly proposes. Our mission is to try and find life from another planet. Good idea, Lolly. Let's go, Huckle replies. Nearby, Mr. Frumble is putting his new TV antenna on the top of his roof. Watch out, Mr. Frumble. Boom, bada, doom, boom, boom, boom. Cling, clang. Mr. Frumble lands in the trash can. Oh dear, says Mr. Frumble. I seem to be stuck. I must buy a bigger trash can next time. What's going on outside the theater? Everyone is running away in fear. What can it be? Yikes! A real bucket man. Huckle and Lolly scream. We'd better call Sergeant Murphy, Huckle says. Clang, clang, clang goes the bucket man. Ouch, he says, bumping into the traffic light. Oh no, Huckle exclaims. We have to help him. I think he's hurt. Be careful, boys, recommends Sergeant Murphy, driving up. He may be dangerous. Sergeant Murphy and the boys gather around the mysterious bucket man. Somehow he looks a bit familiar. Why, it's not a creature from outer space. It's Mr. Frumble. He was stuck in the can. Well, am I glad to see you, Mr. Frumble, Sergeant Murphy says. And I'm happy to know there isn't any mysterious bucket man in Busy Town. But remember now to be careful when putting the TV antenna on top of your roof. Mr. Frumble walks back home, but he cannot get it. The house is locked. I wonder who locked all the doors and windows, Mr. Frumble says. Me, I suppose. The key should be in my pocket somewhere, he says. I must think of a way to get inside. He's stuck outside. Mr. Frumble has an idea. He walks over to Roger Rhino, who's busy working nearby with a noisy jackhammer. Brrrt, brrrt. Hello, Roger, Mr. Frumble yells. Could I borrow your crane and wrecking ball, please? What are you saying, Mr. Frumble? Roger Rhino asks. I can't hear you. He keeps drilling. Brrrt, brrrt, he says. Thank you, Roger, Mr. Frumble replies. Mr. Frumble drives up the crane to the front of his house. I will set the wrecking ball on the roof, climb up the crane, and go down the chimney, Mr. Frumble says proudly. Mr. Frumble lowers the wrecking ball. Easy does it, Mr. Frumble. Boom! Excellent, Mr. Frumble. I'm almost home. Mr. Frumble climbs up the crane. Watch your step, Mr. Frumble. It's very dangerous. Oops! Mr. Frumble lost his balance. Luckily, he hasn't fallen, but is dangling upside down from a crane by his pants. Poor Mr. Frumble. Look, Lowly, Huckle exclaims. Mr. Frumble seems to be in trouble. We should help him. Just then Roger Rhino comes along. I don't know how you got up there, Mr. Frumble, he says, but I will get you down. Roger Rhino slowly lowers the crane so that Mr. Frumble comes to rest gently on the ground. Kind Roger Rhino. There he is coming to the ground. Mr. Frumble notices something on the ground. My house key, Mr. Frumble exclaims. It was in my back pocket all along. I must learn to be more careful. Mr. Frumble walks into his living room and sits in his easy chair. Now I can relax, Mr. Frumble says. Uh-oh. Luckily, I didn't lose my umbrella, says Mr. Frumble with a sigh. Thank goodness I got in before the rain. He looks funny, doesn't he? Mr. Frumble's brother. Mr. Frumble wakes up in the morning. He stretches and yawns. Good morning, day. Good morning, day. Today is very special. Miss Brother Frumble is coming to visit me, Mr. Frumble exclaims. I've just enough time for my breakfast before I pick him up in the train station. But Mr. Frumble's brother has already arrived in busy town. Where can that brother of mine be? He wonders. Excuse me, Mr. Frumble's brother asks, Smiley. Does this bus go to downtown? Sure, Mr. Frumble explains, replies Smiley. Have a nice day. A moment later, Mr. Frumble arrives at the train station. Is this where the train from Vauxhall arrives? He asks Smiley. Poor Smiley, he just saw Mr. Frumble take a bus a minute ago. Mr. Frumble can't find his brother. He leaves the station. Maybe my brother missed his train, Mr. Frumble says. Ah, my brother's hat, Mr. Frumble exclaims. I must give it back to him. Uh-oh, here comes Roger Rhino driving his steamroller. Watch out for Mr. Frumble's hat, Roger. But Roger Rhino cannot stop in time. I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Frumble, Roger Rhino says. Well, I guess I'll have to buy my brother a new hat, Mr. Frumble says, 'cause his hat is all spoiled. In the department store, Mr. Frumble asks Mr. Stitches for a new hat. Then he looks for a mirror to try it on. A moment later, Mr. Frumble's brother enters the department store. He too would like to buy a hat. But I just gave you a hat, said Mrs. Brumble with Stitches with a start. You must be mistaken, madam, replies Mr. Frumble's brother. Mrs. Stitches is confused. She gives Mr. Frumble's brother a hat. Mr. Frumble's brother looks for a mirror. Ah, there's a mirror, or is it? Mr. Frumble turns his this way. Mr. Frumble turns that way. The new hat looks great. Mr. Frumble looks at his watch. I better go to the station and get my brother to see if he's on the next train, says Mr. Frumble. He runs off to the train station. Brother Frumble is astonished. That was no mirror. It was his crazy brother. Mr. Frumble's brother also runs to the station. Mr. Frumble runs down the station platform one way. Mr. Frumble's brother runs the other way. There you are, they say together. Brother Frumble, I have so much to show you in Busy Town, says Mr. Frumble. I've seen enough of Busy Town today. Thank you. I'm going back home, Brother Frumble. Mr. Frumble's brother replies. All aboard, shouts Conductor Willie. Hurry, Mr. Frumble. You don't want to miss your train, says Smiley. He put Mr. Frumble on the train to Workwell. I have a feeling that's the wrong Mr. Frumble, Smiley. See you in Workwell, Mr. Frumble says, calling to his brother from the train. I'll take the bus. Meet me at the station, calls Brother Frumble from the platform. Poor Smiley. A trip back in time. Huck- Huckle and Lowly have come to visit Mr. Fixit. Hi, boys, says Mr. Fixit. What do you think is of my greatest invention ever? What is it? Oh, this is a machine for traveling through time, Mr. Fixit explains. Have a look inside, but don't touch anything. We wouldn't want to lose you, Mr. Fixit tells the boys. But what's this? Mr. Frumble's hat. And then Mr. Frumble. Mr. Frumble trips and falls on a lever. Dear me, where am I? Mr. Frumble asks. You mean, when are we? Huckle explains. We are going back in time. Boom! The time machine takes off. There it is taking off. The time machine shudders to a halt and the door opens. Huckle, Lolly, and Mr. Frumble step outside. How different everything looks! It looks like busy town 200 years ago. Oops! There goes your hat again, Mr. Frumble. Mr. Frumble goes chasing his hat through old busy burr. Mr. Frumble is not the only one to chase his hat. Bump! Mr. Frumble bumps into his ancestor, Mr. Frumbleright, chasing his three-cornered hat. Meanwhile, Huckle and Lowly are looking for Mr. Fixit's ancestor. Excuse me, sir, says Huckle. Could you please fix our lever, please? Of course, replies Mr. Fixit's ancestor. Mr. Fix Things is the name, and fixing things is my game. Mr. Fix Things, Mr. Fixing Things puts the time machine lever back into place. Thank you, Mr. Fixing Things, and goodbye, Huckle and Lowly say. There's nothing Mr. Fixit Things can't fix, Mr. Fixing Things says. Watch out, here comes Mr. Frumble, still chasing his hat. But is it the right hat, Mr. Frumble? Boom! The time machine blasts off again. Mr. Fixit and the cat family are very worried about Huckle and Lowly. How will they ever come back? Just then the time machine reappears. Boom! Are you all right? Mother Cat asks. Sure, Huckle replies. We traveled in the past and it was great. You boys have such an imagination, Mother Cat says. But it's true, Lolly says. Goodbye, waves Mr. Brumble. Thank you for helping me find my hat. Mr. Frumble's birthday party. Look, it's Friday the 13th. 13th? Friday the 13th is my birthday, Mr. Frumble says. He dances with joy. I've invited all of Busy Town to my birthday party, Mr. Frumble says. We'll have ice cream, cake, balloons, and oh dear, I forgot to mail the invitations. There isn't a moment to spare. Mr. Frumble drives up to a mailbox. Let me help you with the groceries, Mr. Fumble says when he sees Nana Cat. Bing! Please be careful, Mr. Frumble. Hey, Mr. Frumble, you forgot to mail all your invitations and you forgot your hat. P.S. Pig. The post lady arrives at the mailbox. My, what a lot of mail, she exclaims. Look, these are the invitations for Mr. Frumble's birthday party this afternoon. We will help you deliver the invitations. P.S. He proposes. Look, there's Mr. Frumble's hat. Just then a truck drives by. It goes over Mr. Frumble's hat. Squish! Perhaps he'd like a new one for his birthday, Lolly suggests. Mr. Frumble goes home and has a nap. Ring rings the doorbell. Dear me, Mr. Frumble complains. How can anyone get any sleep with that noise? What a surprise when Mr. Frumble opens the door. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Frumble, everybody sings. Thanks to Huckle and Lolly, everyone in Busy Town has come to wish Mr. Frumble a happy birthday and bringing him presents. Here's a splendid delivery truck for you, Mr. Frumble, Huckle says. I wonder what it could be, Mr. Frumble says. A new hat, just what I needed, Mr. Frumble exclaims. Thank you, everyone, he says. This is the best birthday I ever had. The pickle car wash. Mr. Frumble is taking his pickle car out for a drive. Suddenly, the pickle car stops going. Mr. Frumble looks at the gas gauge. Oh, bother, I'm out of gas, he exclaims. Mr. Frumble pushes his car to Scotty's garage. Mm-mm. At Scotty's garage, Mr. Frumble wants to fill up gas. I'm not sure if that's the filling pump, Mr. Frumble. Where is Scotty? Mr. Frumble wonders, looking around. Oh dear, Mr. Frumble exclaims. This is the strangest filling station I've ever seen. Hmm, this must be a self-service filling station. I've seen Scotty do it 100 times, Mr. Frumble says. The gasoline goes here, in there, there's nothing to it. Mr. Frumble pushes a button on the control panel. Cling, clang, whoosh! What's all that noise? Mr. Frumble asks, surprised. The automatic car wash gets to work. Whoosh goes the vacuum hose. My hat, Mr. Frumble shouts. Splush goes the washing hoses. Oh ho ho ah, cries Mr. Frumble. What's going on in the car wash? Scotty Dog wonders. Mr. Frumble's clothes go sailing through the air. What fun! When the car wash is finished, the pickle car and Mr. Frumble are whisked outside again. I've never seen such a filling station, Mr. Frumble says to Scotty Dog. It washes and shrinks everything, but it doesn't put any gas in the gas tank. And that's the end of the lovely story, Mr. Frumble's bedtime stories. See you, children. Bye bye.